Week 11 is in the books. We are 1 week closer to the fantasy playoffs. We're going into week 12, and as always, we like to bring you our star sits of each and every week. And I have the wide receiver position this week. It's a little bit early due to Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving, keep in mind, we're going to be spending time with family. So we want to get these videos out and pumped out to you guys as early as possible, because we know you guys are going to have a lot of fantasy questions. No teams on bye this week, but 3 Thanksgiving games on Thursday. Bills and Lions, Giants and Cowboys, Patriots and Vikings. So keep that in mind as you move forward into this week. Let's get straight into the video. My first start wide receiver this week is Terry McLaurin or Curtis Samuel, whoever you have against the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons currently give the second most fantasy points to the wide receiver position. Terry this past week caught 4 out of 7 passes, 55 yards, over 9 fantasy points. They kind of won this game through the ground and on defense. So keep in mind it was a low scoring game. But with Heineke coming in since week 7, he's been doing his thing, has been averaging over 10 fantasy points, 11, not averaging, but getting more than 10 to 11 fantasy points almost per game. And he's been doing his thing. The Atlanta Falcons just gave Darnell Mooney over 12 fantasy points and a touchdown. So there's no doubt in my mind that Terry and Curtis Samuel could also produce the same thing. Taylor Heineke and these Washington Commanders are in a hot streak right now, and they have an amazing schedule going against the Atlanta Falcons going up this week. So if you need a wide receiver to start Terry McLaurin. My second must-start wide receiver this week is Tyler Boyd versus the Tennessee Titans. The Titans currently give the third most fantasy points to the wide receiver position. This week, Tyler Boyd a little bit quiet against the Pittsburgh Steelers, caught 2 out of 7 passes for only 6 fantasy points. But what the Tennessee did on Thursday night, what they gave up to Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, Christian Watson over 21 fantasy points and 2 touchdowns, caught 4 out of 6 targets. If Jamar Chase is not back by this time, Tyler Boyd is a fantastic start moving forward. I love everything that he's doing. Once again, he was targeted 7 times. A lot of overthrown passes, underthrown, a little bit outside, whatever the case may be. Tyler Boyd should have a great bounce back game, potentially for his last week of fantasy relevancy until Jamar Chase gets back. So start Tyler Boyd with confidence. My third starting wide receiver this week is Christian Kirk versus the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens currently give the 7 most fantasy points to the wide receiver position. Christian Kirk was on a bye this week, but has been favored by Trevor Lawrence always, right? They played Kansas City, caught 9 out of 12 targets and 2 touchdowns, over 31 fantasy points. He's playing the Baltimore Ravens, who just played the Carolina Panthers. Gave Terrace Marshall over 10 fantasy points. It wasn't amazing because Baker Mayfield is just trash. Sorry, not sorry. So if you need a wide receiver to start, Christian Kirk is a great start going into week 12. My fourth wide receiver to start this week is Gabe Davis versus the Detroit Lions. This is a Thanksgiving game, so keep that in mind. The Lions currently give the 6th most fantasy points to the wide receiver position. This should be an amazing game in a fantasy perspective for Josh Allen and these Buffalo Bills. Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox, Devin Singletary, all these guys should eat because the Lions are not the best in the passing defense. They just gave up 86 yards to Darius Slay and over 13 fantasy points. Just 100 yards to Wan'Dale Robinson and 19 fantasy points before his injury. Gabe Davis, maybe this is the boom game. We need the 35+ point game where he just goes crazy and Josh Allen is just chucking it. He's going to have the turkey leg at the end of the day. Start Gabe Davis with confidence. My fifth must-start wide receiver this week is Michael Pittman Jr., who is playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers currently give up the most fantasy points to the wide receiver position. This past week, Michael Pittman caught 6 out of 7 targets, over 13 fantasy points. But the Pittsburgh Steelers gave T. Higgins 9 out of 13 targets, 148 yards, over 23 fantasy points. Michael Pittman should have a field day. I'm loving everything about it. And they're playing at home, so there's no weather concerns. It's in a dome. Start Michael Pittman with some confidence going into week 12. And my last starting wide receiver this week is Jacoby Myers versus the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings currently give up the 5th most fantasy points to the wide receiver position. Jacoby Myers has been the most consistent wide receiver on this team. If you need a wide receiver flex, a guy that can give you, 10 minimum points, that is good in my personal opinion. This past week, he didn't have the best week. Got 4 out of 6 targets out of 9 fantasy points. I mean, he went against the Jets, who currently give up, a top 10 least amount of points to the wide receiver position. So it was a decent matchup where this is complete opposite. The Vikings give the 5th most points to the wide receiver position. This is a Thanksgiving game in a dome, so you don't have to worry about weather or whatever the case may be. This could be a great game for Jakobi Meyers because the Vikings just got spanked, literally embarrassed by the Cowboys. Surely they're going to come in and, just score and say, we are a better team than this. And the result is, the Patriots are normally down a lot, have been down a lot this year, where they have to pepper the ball and throw the ball to their wide receivers. And Jakobi Meyers leads this team with receptions, right? So if we need a wide receiver to start, we will be starting Jakobi Meyers. And as always, guys, we have to give you our sit wide receivers of each and every week. And we're going to give you 3 sit wide receivers. And my first one is DJ Moore versus the Denver Broncos. The Broncos currently give the 3rd fewest points to the wide receiver position. Like I said in my trade away video that we always do earlier in the week, I said to trade away DJ Moore because Baker Mayfield, he just brings everyone's value down, whether that's Deontay Foreman, whether that's DJ Moore. And we saw that this past week, caught 3 out of 5 targets for only 5 fantasy points. It's not good, right? And there's no way I'm going to be starting DJ Moore. That's going to be going against Patrick Surtain in this defense, who just lost. It's been embarrassing. It's been bad for the Broncos, but the defense has been consistent in the passing defense. So if you don't want to start DJ Moore, please don't start him because it is a bad matchup. So sit DJ Moore going into week 12. My second sit wide receiver this week is Darnell Mooney versus the New York Jets. The Jets give up the 5th least fantasy points to the wide receiver position. And there's no doubt in my mind that Sauce Gardner, 1, is legit, and 2, is going to be guarding Darnell Mooney. And he held Jakobi Meyers to under 55 yards, under 10 fantasy points, only caught the ball 4 times. So if you have Darnell Mooney, I'm not excited to start him, especially Justin Fields could be in question moving forward with that shoulder injury. Maybe they rest him, maybe they don't, maybe he's fine by the time the weekend comes around. But if you have Darnell Mooney, I am sitting him moving forward. And my last sit wide receiver is Adam Thielen versus the New England Patriots. And you saw on the other side of the ball what the Patriots did versus the Jets. They held Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, all these guys to minimum points, to minimum targets. And I think that's exactly what can happen here for Adam Thielen. Maybe, sometimes Adam Thielen could get opportunity because maybe they're so focused on Dalvin and Justin Jefferson and now TJ Hawkinson, where Adam Thielen is just a guy that's going to be open all the time. So maybe this could be a trap game potentially if you do sit Adam Thielen. But the stats say the Patriots give the 2nd least amount of fantasy points to the wide receiver position. And we did see that this past week where that game was won with literally 5 seconds on the clock and a punt return and nobody scored besides the kickers, right? So I will be sitting Adam Thielen moving forward into week 12. Guys, as always, we like to say thank you so much for coming through. We appreciate each and every one of you. There's still time to turn things around. Hopefully make a trade before your trade deadline. Hit the waiver wires, whatever the case may be. And happy Thanksgiving. Make sure you spend time with your family. If you're not spending time with your family, spend time with somebody you love, maybe a friend, whatever the case may be. I won't be here for the next couple of weeks, so make sure I'm going on holiday. Or vacation, we say, because holiday in Australia is vacation. So if you are here and you're a supporter, make sure you show love to Zach. It's hard, holding the fort down by himself. Once again, there's no teams on buys, but there is 3 Thanksgiving games: Bills, Lions, Giants, Cowboys, Patriots, Vikings. I appreciate each and every one of you. Happy Thanksgiving and good luck. 12.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos,
watch it.
You can also subscribe
right now
if you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLand fam.